beautiful people of YouTube land. Jon Crane here in the shop with another project for you. And today's project, I think, is really cool. What I'm doing is I'm fabricating a steel handrail, and not just any old handrail. This handrail is going to have a slot cut in the bottom, and I'm going to insert LED strip lights in the bottom. Now, this is an outdoor handrail. This is over at a friend's house, and this outdoor handrail leads up to the front door. We want to illuminate the walkway going up to the front door. Now, also at this house, I've installed an outdoor landscape lighting system. I use the FX Luminaire Luxor controller. This is a 300-watt controller. It's amazing. You can control all the landscape lighting from an app on your phone. And this handrail is going to be tied in with the Luxor controller. You'll be able to control all the lighting on this from your phone. Pretty cool. This handrail leads up to the front door. I'm also going to install some LED lights down low along the walkway. It's going to connect up with this handrail. All right, now the way that I'm going to install this LED strip light is in this aluminum track. Now, I've used this several times before. You might have seen the video that I did on my walk-in shower where I installed this LED lighting in the ceiling in the perimeter of the shower. And I tell you, it is a great LED lighting system. I'm using waterproof LED light strip that inserts into this. And then this is a diffuser cover lens that snaps over the top of the track. All right, now what I've done in advance is I've gone over to the job site and I've mocked up the whole railing out of wood. I cut it exactly the same size as the steel handrail. I did it in wood. I brought my miter saw over there, cut all the pieces just to make sure we got the fit, the look, the feel, that everything's going good. I tell you, this is the way. Do it in wood and then come back and cut it out of the steel. You only got to cut the steel one time. So now here back at the shop, I've got all the steel handrail cut and ready to go. Now it's time to bring it over to the milling machine. I'm going to put a 3/4 inch end mill on the mill and cut a slot in the bottom of all of this before I weld up the handrail. All right, here is the setup over at the Bridgeport. I got one vise here, and I've got our handrail, and then I've got a second. I got this little brown and sharp vise of my grandfather's right here. And so I'm gonna cut this slot. I'm not cutting it all the way to the end. Some of these positions here is where an upright, and this is where it gets welded to the railing. I'm not gonna cut a slot through that, so I'm gonna stop. All right, first I'm going through with a 3/4 annular cutter, and then I will switch to an end mill. And let's see, we want to get the speed 3/4, about 600. Here's this 3/4 inch roughing end mill. I'm just gonna hog out the material with this. This is a pretty aggressive bit, nice for this job. Okay, here I welded on some steel end caps, and now I'm gonna sand this all smooth on the disc sander. I really want this handrail to look and feel as if it's all one piece. All right, now let's head over to the job site. Let's do some assembly. We got some welding to do. This is an interesting joint because these angles and coming down to this, it's a really strange angle to do. So I cut some relief slots in here so I could bring this down and weld this into place. All right, look at that. That really came out nice. I'm really happy. All right, I manipulated the metal here so we got a nice joint. This is a real funny angle here, and so I had to make some relief cuts to get this to come out nice and smooth now. Look how nice this little magnetic angle holder is. That is perfect for this job here. I need a couple of these. Okay, I've only tack welded this on site, and now I've got it back at the shop to finish welding it. All right, quick story time. In grade school, in my woodshop class, my teacher, Marty Mictus, I tell you, if he caught you without your safety glasses on, he had a pair of safety glasses he spray painted black, and he'd put those on you and make you sit in the corner for the rest of the class and tell you, this is what it's going to be like when you're blind. But anyhow, see all those little wires sticking in to my shirt from the wire wheel on the angle grinder? That's why I always have the safety shield on. I got the glasses, right? You gotta have the protection on. All right, here we go. I think it's looking pretty good. This transition came out really nice. Got that nice and sanded. Running my hands along this whole thing and making sure it feels nice and smooth to the hand. These transitions came out really nice. All right, it is off to the powder coat shop. And here is the powder coat color we are going with, Bronze 50. I went down to Color Shift Coatings in Bremerton, and the owner is this guy, Alan. He's a great guy, did a great job. Check out his really cool shop here. All right, I just picked this up at the powder coat shop. Let's see if I can get it on the table here without dinging it up. All right, I just got back from Color Shift Coatings. These guys did the powder coating on this. I've never worked with these guys before, but they did a good job. It's probably hard to see in the light here and on the camera, but if you're in person, you can see this is metallic. It's like a metallic bronze color. Probably come out better in the daylight when I have this set up. All right, here is the setup. I've got the railing upside down on the table, and I have the whole railing stabilized with this piece of wood I got to screw through here going over to the shelf, but this gives me nice access now to the underside of this handrail, where you can see I'm starting to insert pieces of this track. So if we look close at this track, this is the track that is going to hold the LED strip lights. I'm going to cut this on the miter saw. I did cut a piece of wood that will go in here as a backer when I cut this on the miter saw. That's good to keep it from getting, you know, sometimes this can fly around, get caught up in the saw, and you can ruin the piece. So if you put a backer in there, that really helps out. All right, you can also see, in addition to this backer, I put a backer here, a little fence on the miter saw to make this zero clearance. That will help with any kind of kickback. All right, I'm just getting ready to glue these pieces in, and I'm using this Scotch Weld 100. This is good for gluing metal to metal. It has a strong bond. It also has temperature fluctuation. It will expand and contract with temperature. Like this steel is going to be in the sunshine. It's going to get hot. It's going to get cold. It's going to expand and contract. And this glue can take up that expansion and contraction without cracking. It's a little bit flexible. But before I glue this in, what I want to do is just, I got some 60 grit sandpaper, and I'm just roughing up the backside of this just to give it a little bit of tooth, just so the glue has a little something to grab onto. You know, it'll probably do just fine without it, but you know, give it a little extra. This epoxy has a mixing gun that you have to put it into, and it has this nozzle. This is a 1-to-1 ratio. And I like how that feels. It's a little bit sticky, tacky. All right, it's time to install the LED strip lights, and here is the lighting that I'm using. You can see this is a waterproof LED strip. It has kind of a rubber coating over the whole thing. It has an adhesive back, and the key thing here is that this is AC 12 volt. Now, the majority of these LED light strips that you get are going to be 12 volt DC, and I need 12 volt AC to work with the Luxor landscape lighting controller that I'm hooking this up to. Otherwise, it won't work. So this is a pretty cool product. I got this, let's see, I'll show you the paperwork here. I got this from Lumiere Lighting, LumiereUS.com. I'll also put a link in the description to these guys. I don't think you can find AC 12 volt LED strip light on Amazon. That is a cool thing that this company is selling this. All right, so I'm gonna roll this out, and I think I can get a strip all the way, starting from here, all the way to the tip of the railing in one shot without having to do a splice. Now what I'm gonna do is come in with this wire. I just got some SO cable. I got a hole here in the end of the handrail, and so I'm gonna snake this wire in here. I'm gonna silicone this in. Okay, you can see on this LED strip, there's a little symbol there, a pair of scissors. That's where you can cut this. And that comes every 4 inches on this particular LED strip. I put a little marker right here, but I'm just gonna cut this right at that point. All right, now I'm gonna snake this through the whole deal. All right, right on. That length is actually perfect. You know, you have 4 inches. It could be a little bit short, it could be a little bit long, but this actually fits in there just right. Nice. All right, and for the end of the LED tape, they make these little caps, and I just put some silicone in there. I'm just gonna slide that right over the end. And I can tell this is gonna be maybe a tricky little install to get this stuck down into the bottom. And what I'm gonna do is wrap this with a little cable tie as a stop. So I'm gonna try to pull this as tight as I can. That's like a little collar stop so it doesn't pull back through. I'm gonna put a little silicone all the way around this so it seals that end hole and also kind of glues it in. Yeah. These are great wire strippers, very cheap. I think they're like 16 bucks on Amazon. I'll put a link in the description. You can get these, or you can get the Knipex ones for 100 bucks, or Knipex. All right, I got the old 1950s Buck Roger solder gun here. Okay, now I've got this 1/8 inch adhesive lined shrink tube, and I want to run it a little bit long so it seals the end. I can pinch that down. Tuck these into the side. It looks like they're going in there easily. Okay, now for added security, I'm going to add a little bead of silicone along the edge so it's not all reliant on the stickiness of that tape. All right, here's the moment of truth. See if everything works. All right, beautiful, beautiful. All right, that is looking great. Everything is lit up nicely, 12 volts AC. All right, now it's time to cut and shape these diffuser covers. Okay, but first I want to add this little plug connector to the end of our cord. I bought these nice little waterproof connectors that snap together. They got a nice rubber seal. And this should slide right over top of our connector. It's time to cut these lens covers. So I want to get a decent fit on these, but not so tight that I can't get them back out. I learned the hard way. You got to cut these by hand with a handsaw. I've cut these on the miter saw and they just shatter. Check out this cool little handsaw that my friend Ty gave me. I think it's a retractable razor, but you push it out and it's a little saw blade. And it even has, let me show you here. See the little backer that slides out and holds the saw nice and stiff? All right, pretty sweet. The name of that is God Hand. I guess the hand of God here is cutting for us. All right, pretty cool. All right, let's give it a test. All right, pretty cool. I think that's gonna be great. A nice, soft light. This is a very exciting day to be able to install this handrail. It really came out super nice. Look at this handrail. But we are not out of the woods yet. I still have to build all the lighting to go up the front stairs. All right, what I'm working on now is some LED lighting for the front steps. Now this lighting is gonna run along the steps on the wall, maybe about 6 inches above the steps on the right side. Now there's a couple lengths of this that I don't have long enough track, so I gotta join some of this track together. So right now what I'm doing is I have some 80 thousandths aluminum. I'm gonna cut this into some small strips and I'm gonna glue it into the top side of this track with some of our epoxy. And it looks like I need to cut a piece just under 1/2 inch. All right, let's see. Should be able to shear this off. Okay, now I'm gonna tape these together. And I can hear the Amazon truck pulling up right now with more of our channel. I ran out of this. I had to order a little bit more for the job. I'm gonna put a little bit of epoxy just like that. Now I'll just drop this in. Drop this one in. I need to attach this track to the wall, and how I'm gonna do it is I'm gonna drill a hole through the front of this, another hole out the back. And I bought these cool little rubber covers. And I think if I drill a 1/4 inch hole, this can cap the hole after I put the screw through, you know, and get this all installed on the wall. This will be a nice little cover. All right, here's what we got. I didn't want to bore you with all the drilling, so I just showed you that short clip, but I got a hole through the front. I flipped it over, I drilled another hole through the back. And here are the plastic end caps that they give you for the channel, but I need to drill a little bigger hole to get this wire through. All right, now that I've got all the mounting holes drilled on these, front and back, now I can start cutting some of our tape here. Okay, I did the first one off camera just to get the feel of it. So you can see I've got our end cap here, and I've got our LED strip tied down. I got our other end cap here. I got this wire soldered in to our LED strip. I got some heat shrink over the end. Now these are going downstairs, so it needs a little drop down to the next height. And then I got our end cap, the heat shrink, and then I got us down here set up. I'll show you how I do the next intersection. All right, let's solder up a connection. So you see here, we got our AC 12 volt LED strip. We've got our line in neutral, but you can see, you know, we've cut this with the scissors. This is encapsulated in a rubber silicone jacket here, a layer on the top that is protecting everything. So we have to get into these solder points. We need to cut that off. So I just lay this on the edge of the table, and then I cut just like we're slicing a piece of cake here. I just cut right at those solder joints and I slide that off. Let me bring that in a little closer. So see, I just cut this little rubber. So here's our two solder points. They're still a little bit covered in that silicone, so I need to scrape that off a little bit. So I'm just taking the tip of the razor blade here on the edge of the table, and I'm just rubbing these little solder points. You don't want to go too hard because you don't want to scrape the copper off of the solder points. You can see I have scraped clean our 2 copper connection points. Now I want to put 2 little balls of solder on each of those and prep that for our wire. Okay, next up I want to tin the wires. There's 1. And there's 2. Okay, and then the deal is to lay our wires on top. I'm putting the black on the line side, the white on the neutral side. I'm just holding that down with my finger right on top of our little balls of solder. And then I'm just gonna heat this until that collapses into the solder. I wish my solder gun was a little bit hotter. There it goes. All right, there's 1. All right, there is number 2. And I'm gonna put a little dab of silicone right here. I'm gonna slide our adhesive line heat shrink over the top of this whole thing. Okay, and then this gets one of our little end caps that's it's quite a tight fit, actually. All right, we are getting close to install. Everything is getting a coat of primer and a coat of paint. Okay, I've got all of this LED lighting working nicely. Let's head over to the job for the install. All right, here is our FX Luminaire controller. This is a 300 watt controller, and I've got the power coming over to here to a junction box where I got these 2 sets of terminal blocks. I got the common and I got the 15 volt on this side, and here is our wire coming in right now for our front porch steps. So I'm just gonna strip this wire and put on our spade connectors. Okay, and before I crimp on our little spade connector, I like to use a little bit of this no locks. This is an outdoor situation, so I just coat the wire just a little bit on each end here, and then I put the crimper here on these Klein pliers. I slide in here to the end and just give that a good crimp. All right, with those crimped on, now I can snake these up onto either side here. We got the line in the neutral. I already have this labeled here for front steps. We'll loosen these terminals here on the terminal block. Here's our 15 volt side. I'll give you a close-up here of our junction box. So I just tied in here to this terminal, into this terminal. I got the common and the 15 volt coming over here from our Luxor controller. Now I have this all controlled on an app on my phone, so I'm gonna go ahead and turn that on my phone. All right, it looks like our lights are on and all working nice. Everything looks to be connected up. We got these under the railing, and we're gonna have to come back at nighttime and take a look when it's all lit up at night. All right, I'm gonna close this back up, put our junction box cover on. All right, and we'll put our door back on. All right, and here's a quick look at another controller box I have for the lighting on the other side of the property. So on the top half of this box, we got our FX Luminaire Luxor controller, another 300 watt. And then down here at the bottom, we got this junction box. We got some dimmers. We got the same kind of terminal blocks that we have on the other box. Okay, join me on a little nighttime stroll as we come around here to the front of the house, and let's take a look at our brand new LED lighting. Elegant, classy, and now most of all safe. Now you have a handrail that you can grab onto, and you have the walkway illuminated as you make your way up to the front door. All right, right on, folks. I hope you enjoyed this video. I had a great time making it. Please like, subscribe, tell your friends, and if you want to make a little donation, hit that thanks button. All right, I'll see you guys soon. Right on.